So I've got a lot of different screen technologies to test out in this really brightly lit room, and we're going to do a quick comparison. These are all alternatives to LCD monitors, and if you're someone who knows that you can't really use an LCD, IPS or even an OLED panel for long periods of time without getting that horrible feeling in your eyes that you've just got too much light with your eyes getting bleary, then these might be options for you. And well, they're ranging from some cheaper ones through to more expensive, and they're a range of different technologies as well. So we've got the Easi first of all, which we're going to start with, and I'm going to show them all, hook them all up to the laptop. This Easi is a form of LCD with a sort of semi-translucent back panel. It's the cheapest of the options, and that's because it's the closest to an ordinary LCD technology, if you like. We've got some e-ink panels, and we've got some reflective LCD panels to have a look at as well in this brightly lit environment. So the Easi is the only panel which is actually letting light through from the back to illuminate the screen. The others are all reflective, but they're all using the ambient light. So the idea of the Easi is it has this panel on the rear which can be tilted back to allow it to reflect some of the ambient light through the screen and into your eyes. Now I will say, and it is important to know, that all of these are a compromise. None of them are actually as easy to view as an LCD IPS panel. And the Easi, you can see in this space, doesn't work quite as well, because what it would rather have is more light coming through from the back. And we've seen a lot of people rigging up ways of lighting this back panel so that there's more light shining through there. It does have full spectrum LEDs behind it though, which you can turn on and off here. And it's one of the few that when you clip it there with those LEDs on, it's one of the few that can behave like an ordinary LCD screen. But for comparison, if I show you my main laptop LCD screen in the shot as well, you can see that actually the LCD screen is more readable. It is on its maximum brightness there as well, but it is more readable in this bright environment with lots of reflections. And both of them on the camera are not doing a good job of being legible at all, are they? And that's the way that traditionally screens will be tested, is how bright can they go to kind of overcome the glare and the reflections from the lights in the room or from the sky. So this is the Easi monitor, and it is an ordinary LCD panel with a front light, sorry, with a back light. You can see when it's off, completely dark as you might expect, but it does have a trick up its sleeve. You probably see though, it does have a little bit of a green cast. If I compare it to the laptop screen there, you can see there's a bit of a greener cast there, so that you can change the color settings. I'm finding that this is the sort of setting that I've landed on. It's got that slightly greener cast. The trick up its sleeve is that you can push that back, and then it's using more of the ambient light of the room, or because it's in front of a window here, you can take that right off. And now you can see that green cast actually is gone, and it looks quite good. Although it looks quite dark on the screen, it's actually quite legible and quite viewable here as it is. Again though, like with most of these alternative screen technologies, I would say that the best use case is going to be for typing. I think that the drawback of it is that now I'm sitting facing and gazing at something which is actually darker than the background, so I'm having to kind of squint at that and simultaneously try and keep out the darkness from the background, so it's not perfect. The nice thing about it is though, at any point you can clip this back to it and you now have something which is acting just like a normal LCD monitor. I tend to find that even without that on, just having that little bit from the LED lights at the bottom is kind of necessary. And you can see I've got a monitor on behind it, and it's kind of shadowing behind the thing as well. So there, you know, it's a compromise. Innovative idea, but in practice, it's somewhat flawed. Just show you a video on it. When it's in this position, that's with it clipped shut. Looks normal if a little dark and if a little green. And then lift that off. You can see again, looks good if a little dark. And with the light right off, somewhat too dark. And with all of these monitors, it is the case that you're just going to have to manage your screen somewhat if you go for any one of these technologies. They're all good in some situations and they're not so good in other situations. So it is a case that you're going to have to manage the settings on it and think about how you're using it at different times. And that's a big flaw. Certainly this is one that doesn't work well in this brightly lit environment. And it doesn't work well outdoors either, but that's not what it's for. But its refresh rate is high, just like any other LCD monitor. So that's the Easi. Certainly work better in my room with the window behind it. So next up is the sun vision display, and this is definitely its natural habitat. And this is because this is from outdoor signage. It's a very low power solution, only 6 watts. There are no front lights whatsoever here on the screen. There's no artificial lighting at all. You have to have an external lighting solution. So in a room like this, it looks really fabulous. The reflections on the display are really well controlled. In other words, you don't get much glare. If I go ahead and place my laptop back in view, you'll now, I think, see that It's really much easier to see Sun Vision display than it is to see the laptop screen. And actually, since that first bit, the sun's kind of gone through a bit of a cloud, so it's a bit darker in this room now than it was a moment ago. And this is a monitor that just laps up natural light. Sun Vision. It's a technology that comes from outdoor signage, and you can just see the more light it gets, the better that viewing will be. There are most certainly still compromises, however, and the compromise is that in nighttime, in the evening times, you will need to have some kind of external lighting solution. So I had a lamp going across on my desk, and that worked really well just to give a kind of even lighting across the screen. It is a really comfortable viewing experience. Again, though, I would say with most of these technologies, they are far nicer for working with text than they are for working with any kind of video or certainly any website in dark mode. It's a really nice big panel as well, but it is the most expensive one out of the whole bunch. But there is something really nice about the kind of color cast that this monitor gets. And it's brightening up a bit in this room, and you can see, I hope, that the more light, the better with this monitor. A newer venture from Easi, and this one just plugs in by USB. This is called the Radiant, and this one is a reflective panel, an RLCD panel, just like the Sun Vision display was. It's a slightly different technology. This is a transflective display, they're calling it. I've got that working. Does it need to be in the top one? One of them's for power, and one of them's for power and signal. Definitely had this working before. So I definitely have had it working by USB-C before, but I think I'll just have to go in through HDMI for some reason in this time. You do have those options. There we are. And there are some other benefits of this one because it is also a touchscreen, which is quite nice actually, because for a lot of these technologies, it's the use of the pointer which can sometimes let it down. And you're often kind of scrabbling around like, where's that pointer gone? This does have a normal refresh rate if you like. It does have a, I think it's 60 Hertz refresh rate on there. And you can see that it does have the ambient lighting as well. But this one, the reflections on it, the glare on it aren't quite as well controlled. But it is still easier to see, certainly, than the original Easi. It also does have backlights this time. So again, this is the type of monitor that you might choose to use if you are someone who knows you're going to have to exist in a kind of switching between an ordinary use case and a very bright or outdoor setting. And those controls are too fiddly, and the little menu there does need improving. So if you're someone who knows you will have to flip between using it like an ordinary LCD screen and a reflective monitor, then that could be for you. And lastly, it's the e-ink panels, and this is the Dasung 13.3-inch paper-like screen. You can see it's not plugged in and it still retains the image of whatever was on it the last time I looked at it. And this again will run off either a single USB-C or it will run off HDMI. Now this is black and white, so that's your first compromise. I would say also that Dasung are further along in terms of their e-ink technology for displays than a lot of other companies. And actually they have a range of different modes, and each of the modes you can change the speed within the mode as well. And I think that's really good, and I think Bigme ought to listen to that when we have a look at their screen in just a moment. And this is a really nice screen which is portable, a good size. Again though, this is really just for working with text. So if you know that's something you need to do, you need to be able to carry around something which is just for using text, then I think this is a good option. It does have this matte screen protector on the front, so reflections are well controlled and you can read it in a variety of different angles. I have a full review on this, and generally I like it. It's really versatile, but my main kind of conclusion about it was that would you really buy this at only just short of the tablets that you can get at this size, which you can also use as external monitors by simply using an app like Space Desk, for example. So again, compromise and price are the things that are letting this reflective technology down. This one being black and white, Dasung also have a larger color screen as well, and I think that might be really quite good. Our last reflective monitor, our last alternative monitor technology to look at is going to be the Bigme. It's a 25.6-inch e-ink panel. It's a color e-ink panel, it's a Kaleido-free e-ink panel, and we've seen those a lot in tablets at the moment, but now we're starting to see them in this massive size. And again, I'll tell you that e-ink of course is designed for reading, so text does look better than other things look on it. It does have a range of different modes as well, which of course you can see in my review videos on this product. Again, a first and major compromise is of course the price. You're looking at about £1,200 for this. And generally, although the glare looks pretty bad on the camera, I can tell you that is pretty well controlled here in person. Happily though, it does come with a remote, because one thing you are going to have to do is you are going to have to manage the display. Although I suppose because we're in such a brightly lit area, the remote options aren't working all that well. I was pressing the wrong button. And also, as I've demonstrated in my other content on this screen, it does have voice commands to change those modes, so that is really convenient. And again, being an e-ink panel, it's reflective, and so it does better for natural light. So most of the time, you'd ideally want to live in this image mode. You can see that looks drastically different to the other modes. You see that lovely photo of my young people there. But as you'll see, whenever I change something on that screen, it is not a good experience. So for anything which needs to change rapidly on the screen, and this mode, even for typing, is a little too slow. So when you make a mistake, it takes a moment for you to register that mistake and to correct it on the screen. So you get around that by using one of the other modes that are available to you. And those other modes are text or video mode, and they are higher refresh rate, but worse quality. And I really think that is the issue here with the screen, is if it was to look exactly like it does in image mode all the time and be a high enough refresh rate for it to be usable, then it would be a fabulous screen. All of them have their compromises. This does have built-in front lights, so this has a good range of options to enable you to even use it through the evenings and in lower lit situations than this. But as you can see, it does look really much better in the light. So let's show a video of some description. I'm in web mode currently. The video mode is the best for video, but that isn't going to be something that you're going to spend any time watching a video on, I'm sure. So the compromise here is it would look great if everything was in image mode, but you can see how quickly that takes to refresh each frame. Text mode is slightly better quality, slightly lower refresh rate. Web or video mode is really the only two modes usable for ordinary usage. However, as a second monitor on your desk, and it will have to be a second monitor only, for use for text, for use for your reference documents, it's pretty good. It also does have one more party trick that I like, which is vertical mode. It's a well-designed stand. It rotates, automatically detects and tells the computer that I've rotated, and that for a reference document on your desk to work from, that could be worth the price tag alone for many of you. So I hope that's been useful. All of these screens in really brightly lit conditions. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you've tried any of these, if you've got any thoughts about them. I'm just getting started evaluating this one, and you can expect a full review in the near future. Thanks so much for watching.